Hello again, everybody. Back again today, and for a change, we've got a Marvel video. I know, most of the time my channel is DC and recently Warhammer 40,000, but I am a big Marvel fan. Every once in a while I like to throw some Marvel stuff in there. It just so happens, though, that, like, most Marvel stuff that I come across entertains the living fuck out of me. And since it entertains me, I don't walk away from it with these like lasting feelings of like I need to vent. There's stuff I need to talk about. It's usually when I watch something, I read something, I play something that really bothers me. Like I saw a lot of problems with it. That's when I'm like I got shit to say. But something's come up. And that is, as you can tell by the title, Ultimate Invasion. This is going to be a Marvel Comics crossover event coming up in the near future. Actually, it might have started already. I'm not positive. Oh no, June 2023. It says right there. The Ultimate Universe, which we have not really seen in Marvel Comics since the Secret Wars event of 2015. Is it coming back? Is this just a one-time story? I don't know. I don't know much about this. I've been trying to like read some news and watch some other YouTubers' videos on this, but I just don't really know. I can't really lock down a vibe of what this is. In terms of like, is the Ultimate Marvel Universe being brought back? Or are they just doing like a little one-off, hey, here it is again, okay, it's gone again, bye. Who knows? Personally, I hope that they're bringing it back, but only if they're going to do it in a specific way, and we're going to talk about what that specific way is. So, before we go any further, we got to give some backstory to the Ultimate Universe for people who don't know. I like to make my videos under the premise that like there's people watching this who are here to learn. They don't know what the fuck a lot of this shit is. So, Ultimate Marvel, back in like the early 2000s, Marvel Comics was looking for a way to shake things up and make things entertaining again and get new readers to start reading comics. And they were kind of like, well, shit, we've been telling stories within this setting, the Marvel Universe, since the 40s. That's a lot of shit for people to catch up on. You know, people go into a comic book store like, I want to start reading Marvel Comics. I want to read Spider-Man. I want to read Avengers. I want to read Fantastic Four. And they get in there and they go, holy shit, I've got a lot to catch up on. And then they turn around and they leave the comic book store. So Marvel was like, why don't we create a new line of comics that basically starts the story over, but in modern times? And that's what they did. And it all started with Ultimate Spider-Man. Brand new Spider-Man comic book series. It starts off with him. He's not even been bitten by the spider yet. And that's really the first arc, is him getting bit by the spider, becoming Spider-Man. Uncle Ben dies. It's the same old story. It's just in a modern setting. Which if you look in my channel, you'll see some other videos in there what I talk. There's one in particular called How to Keep Marvel and DC Comics Going On Forever. And essentially, what I say, I'm going to summarize that entire video. I still recommend you go watch it. What I say is the key to keeping this stuff going on is you just have to kind of reinvent it every 25 years or so of real time for a new generation. You don't need to completely redo everything. You just need to take the same characters and the same general stories and just adapt them to modern times. You can retell pretty much the same story. It's just now, instead of telling it in 1972, you're telling it in 2023. You know, so and that's what they did. It was the typical Spider-Man story. It just instead of it being 1962, it was like the year 2000. I think, I don't know. It was the early 2000s. Anyway, Ultimate Spider-Man was a big hit. People loved the comic book series. It's great. It's a fantastic read. I highly recommend people read it. And from there, they said, well, let's capitalize on this. Let's keep it going. And the next thing they did was Ultimate X-Men, which was also pretty good run. I read a lot of the Ultimate Universe. I'll tell you guys where I stopped, and it's where a lot of people stopped, and we'll get there, trust me. But yeah, Ultimate X-Men. So now we've got Spider-Man, we've got the X-Men, And then they expanded it even further. Once again, it was just X-Men, typical kind of X-Men stories. They kept the characters relatively the same. It's just all now taking place in the early 2000s. Then they wanted to expand the universe even farther, so they created this line of this comic book series called Ultimate Marvel Team Up, and it was essentially a comic book series where they would do like 2 to 3 issue story arcs where Spider-Man encountered other Marvel characters that had not been seen yet. Like the first one's Wolverine, he meets the Fantastic Four eventually, he meets the Hulk, he meets Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Black Widow, all from this new universe. And this is kind of how they started to, like, for all the characters that they did not really want to give their own series, they just were like, okay, let's introduce them through Spider-Man in this team-up series. Now, they did end up giving Fantastic Four, and I want to say Iron Man got a couple limited series, but they suck and pretty much pretend they don't exist. But yeah, this is how they expanded the universe a little bit farther. Eventually, they did their Avengers, which in this universe is called the Ultimates. And it's your pretty typical Avengers team. You've got Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Hank Pym, who is in this universe, he's more like Giant Man than Ant-Man. His thing is he mostly grows big rather than small. And then Wasp, and eventually they added Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in there as well, and Ultimate Hawkeye. Ultimates was another pretty big success. It is darker. Once again, it's early 2000s. We're dealing with, like, 9/11 is pretty not relevant. I wouldn't say relevant, but it's around that time period. So it's a darker world, a bit of a scarier world. These characters are a little more, like, Captain America is not a goody two shoes in this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of deal. And it was good. People liked it. People responded well to this first, to the creation of the Ultimates. I don't know why they called it the Ultimates instead of, I mean, I know why, because it's Ultimate Marvel, but yeah, they called them the Ultimates instead of the Avengers, but it's basically the Avengers. So now at this point, we've got Spider-Man, we've got the X-Men, we've got our Avengers. What else is there? Well, they even did a mini-series of Daredevil and Elektra that introduces this universe's Daredevil and Elektra. Later on, Daredevil shows up in a lot of other series. He shows up a lot in this Ultimate Spider-Man series. I believe he teams up with X-Men and Fantastic Four at points in their stories. It's good, where the universe just kept building. People kept liking it more and more and more. It was a fresh take. New fans could come in, and they didn't have like decades upon decades of comics to catch up on. They could just kind of jump in it was a fresh jumping on point. And at the same time, Marvel didn't abandon their main universe, the one that they'd been telling stories in since the 40s. They kept that going as well. They just added this. So after they introduced Daredevil, other characters that got introduced through Spider-Man or some other series, Ultimate Moon Knight, and eventually they even did Fantastic Four. Ultimate Fantastic Four, it's not bad. If we're gonna go with like a very simple ranking system of like bad, good, great, Fantastic Four falls in the good category in the middle, whereas Ultimate Spider-Man is like great. So it's not bad. But if you watch the newest live-action Fantastic Four movie with Miles Teller as Reed Richards, that was heavily inspired by the Ultimate Universe take on the Fantastic Four. It's a pretty good read. We're still at the point where the Ultimate Universe is just on an incline. It just keeps getting better and better. They keep adding more, developing more, telling good stories, and things are going great. It's pretty much at this point that the Ultimate Universe is fully formed. We have our Avengers, we have Spider-Man, we have our X-Men, we have our Fantastic Four, we've got Moon Knight, we've got Daredevil, we've got a lot of these characters. You can see here in the picture, there's Captain Britain, a lot of characters. The universe is fully developed, it's fully formed, and it's fantastic. It just keeps getting bigger and better. And it's because they stuck to that formula of like, look, we're not doing drastic changes. We're just taking what we did before in the old timey-wimey 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, and we're just modernizing it. That's all we're doing. They even did a trilogy of stories where they did the Ultimate Marvel Universe's version of like Galactus coming to like eat Earth, like devour Earth, and that was really good. In this universe, Galactus is not this big giant man that walks around like picks up planets with his hand, nom nom nom. No, he's like kind of like the what are they called in Mass Effect? The Reapers. He's kind of like the Reapers from Mass Effect. That's what Galactus is. And yeah, it's a pretty good read. It's an interesting, different take on Galactus. The central theme and plot is still there. It's this intergalactic cosmic entity that goes around devouring worlds. They introduced Ultimate Silver Surfer. Things are still going great. And then they did this shit that really just it's what always kills good things. It's when you have a well-established good thing, and then someone or a group of people comes along and goes, guys, we should shake this thing up a lot. We should take it in a drastic new direction and make it just unique. Let me ask you something. Is that what led to success so far? This thing that you're doing, this Ultimate Comics universe, Ultimate Marvel, it's been successful, right? Yes. Has it been drastically different from traditional Marvel in the past? No, it's just a modern take. So why in all fuck would you why would you just take a hard right or left and just change shit drastically? The first thing that was a big red flag was the story arc Ultimates 3. There's some weird shit in there. Right off the bat, it opens up with Tony Stark. Like, the big thing is a sex tape of Tony Stark fucking Black Widow has been released to the media, and it's just all over the internet, and people are talking about it on the news. So that was kind of weird. And then, I shit you not, there is a scene in this book, Ultimates 3, where they're all at Avengers Tower, Avengers Mansion, the headquarters. They got the news on. The news is talking about Tony Stark and Black Widow's sex tape. And then Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who are brother and sister, get turned on by the sex tape news coverage. And they leave and go off to fuck. Yes. For some reason, they thought that what was missing from the Ultimate Marvel Universe was superhero incest. So that was the first neon red flag that things were not going to go in a good direction from here on out, and it just got worse. The desire to shake things up and make things unique and different, take it in a drastic new direction, it only got further with the infamous Ultimatum storyline. And I mentioned before about how there was a certain part where Ultimate Comics where I just gave up. This was it. They basically, someone over at Marvel decided we need to shake this universe up and make it drastically different. Just take it in an all new direction. And we're going to do that by killing off a huge amount of the characters in the Ultimate Marvel universe. And that's what happens in the story Ultimatum. So many fucking characters just die in brutal, graphically violent ways. Like the Blob, the X-Men villain, the Blob, he literally kills Wasp by eating her. And it shows him, he's fucking eating her. And then to get revenge, Hank Pym, Giant Man, grows big, picks up the Blob, and bites his head off. It just got, it was trying to be uber violent, graphic, edgy. I can't sum it up any better than to say this was them going new, drastically new, different direction. Be different, be different, be different, be different. That's not what led you to success in the first place. Being drastically different than traditional, typical Marvel is not what led this line to success. Being pretty much the exact same as typical, traditional Marvel, just in a modern setting, that's what led you to success. So Ultimatum dealt a huge blow to the Marvel universe, to the Ultimate Marvel universe, and it basically never recovered. The only good thing that came out of it after Ultimatum was with the death of Spider-Man storyline. That's another thing. Spider-Man survived. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, he survived the Ultimatum storyline. But then, not too long after that, they did a Death of Spider-Man story arc where they killed off Ultimate Peter Parker. This, however, did lead to the introduction of Miles Morales, which is a great character. He's beloved, and when the Ultimate Marvel universe was essentially destroyed and kind of melded into the normal 616 Marvel universe during the Secret Wars event in 2015, Miles Morales Spider-Man was one of the few Ultimate Marvel characters that survived all that, and he still exists to this day. He now exists in the main Marvel universe. So there was some silver linings, some highlights to post-Ultimatum Ultimate Marvel, but not a lot. Things just kept getting more and more different. And it's sad, really, because there's so many other things they still could have done. Basically, any storyline from normal 616 Marvel that could be considered old. We're talking like any storyline from the 60s, the 70s, even the 80s could be considered old at that point, and it could have used a modernized, updated Ultimate Universe retelling. Shit such as like the Kree Skull War or the Infinity Saga. Stuff like that. But they never got around to it because for some reason Marvel over there and all their fucking wisdom was just like, guys, things are going way too well with the Ultimate Universe right now. We need to drive this shit into the ditch. Some people will claim that it's because by this point in time when they did Ultimatum, the Earth 616, the normal Marvel Comics universe, had become good again with stories like House of M, Civil War, and other stuff after that. And so they kind of said, let's kind of like fuck off with the Ultimate stuff because the normal 616 one it's entertaining and good again. It's modern. It in and of itself has become a little more modernized and a little more, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it was just people were liking that again. The focus was back on the normal Marvel universe, not the Ultimate one. But it's a shame. It is a shame because we had a really nice, updated, modernized take on Marvel that was a solid, good jumping on point for new readers and new fans. But it is what it is. It just, after Ultimatum, it never really recovered. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The only positive thing that came out of Ultimate Marvel after the Ultimatum storyline was Miles Morales. Everything was shit after that. So, Ultimate Invasion. I don't really know what's going on with this because, like I said, I stopped reading Ultimate Marvel after Ultimatum. I was like, fuck this. So, I know that this guy right here is a villain. He's called the Maker. And I know that he is the Ultimate Comics, the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Eventually, after the Ultimatum storyline, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic of the Ultimate Universe, kind of becomes evil. And he becomes this villain called the Maker. And I guess in this storyline, and he's another one of the Ultimate characters that survived the Secret Wars event of 2015, and he still exists in, normal 616 Marvel. And I guess in this storyline, he's going to try and bring back the Ultimate Universe, or Earth 1610. Is it going to be on a permanent basis? Is it going to be a temporary thing? Is it going to be like, we have to stop him, we can't, there's an incursion that both realities can't exist, we have to stop him. It kind of gives me a little bit of a DC Infinite Crisis vibe, where you had the Alexander Luthor of that Lost Earth 3, I want to say it was. I remember, but he was still alive. He'd survived the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and him and Superboy Prime and Superman of Earth 2 had kind of formed this like team where their whole goal was like, we're gonna bring back another alternate Earth because we hate the one that exists. It kind of gives me that vibe a little bit. I don't know where they're gonna go with this, but I am interested. I'm interested, and I will say this, if they are going to bring back Ultimate Marvel as like a permanent ongoing thing, the way I would have it done is the Maker or whoever, they succeed in bringing back the Ultimate Universe. They succeed in bringing back Earth 1610, but they bring it back at the point in the timeline just before Ultimatum. You know, it's comics. We can do some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey shit and be like, oh, they restored Earth 1610. They restored the Ultimate Marvel Universe, but it came back at the point in its timeline right before Ultimatum. And basically, that would give Ultimate Marvel a mulligan and allow it to kind of be like, okay, we fucked it up and drove it into the ditch the first time around. Let's try it again and go from there. And they could still have, I guess, if you really wanted to have Peter Parker's, the death of Spider-Man could still be part of it. Like they could still say like, oh, that event still happened. Peter Parker did die. Miles Morales did get created. Because I've done, through my research that I've done, I do know that even after Peter Parker died and Miles Morales showed up on the scene and became Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe, Ultimate Peter Parker did come back. He just did not come back to being Spider-Man. He came back and then he just kind of like went off with Mary Jane. He's like, Miles Morales has got the Spider-Man thing. He's holding down the fort. I'm going to go fuck off with Mary Jane and live my life. So, yeah, that's how I would do it. If I was working at Marvel and I was going to bring back the Ultimate Universe, I would have it be brought back at the point in its timeline just before Ultimatum and then go from there and kind of do a mulligan. But we'll see. Like I said, I don't know where this is going to go. I am interested, and I probably will keep up with checking it out. Whatever news comes out about it, I'll probably read it. And it's after I do read it and we know what's up, maybe I'll make a follow-up video. But I just want to make this video talking about this because I did like the Ultimate Universe, and I would like to see it brought back, but only under those conditions. Like it gets brought back before the Ultimatum. So yeah. That's basically my take on that. Let me know what you guys think. Anyone who has any more information on this, who knows what's going on, who knows what's supposed to be happening, leave some comments down below. Let me know, let us all know, get a discussion started. And yeah, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It really helps out my channel. If you want to help out the channel even further, check out some of my other videos, maybe subscribe to it. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys later.